Hello, this is Julie Hogue with the Vegetarians and Meat Lovers Split Table Recipes podcast. I'm so excited you're here. We have an amazing, yummy dish today, and this is for like if you're doing a larger group. However, I have made this as a one-pan dish too. So it is versatile. I'll put both down in the podcast show notes. You can do the one that you need, but the one I'm going to talk about is for the one that will feed like 8 to 10 people. We actually fed 6 people, but then we had several leftover servings for our leftovers. So it should feed around 8 to 10 people, depending on if you have anything with it or not, or how big of eaters you have. And this one's really good because it's a hybrid one. It is really easy. And it's great for a group. Like when we have my future daughter-in-law over, we have 6 people. And her and I are both vegetarians. So this recipe I make as the big pan, the 9 by 13 inch pan, is the one with the meatballs. And then the smaller pan, which is like a 2-quart pan, 8 by 11.5 inches, I do that as a vegetarian one. Now you could put some of the meatballs in the smaller pan if you want more meat containing portions. It's not really that hard. It's very easy to do, especially with meatballs, because they aren't like shredded. There aren't pieces. They're very nicely contained, so they work fantastic for a hybrid recipe, a split table recipe, like I often do on my podcast. And this is the way I cook. I've cooked this way for literally years, since I was about a teenager, because I became the cook at my home when it was just my dad and my sister and I was a vegetarian and they were not. And I had to figure out, how am I going to cook for the 3 of us? Then I married a man who eats meat. And then I had 3 children who eat meat. And I'm a vegetarian, and my future daughter-in-law is a vegetarian. So that means that I still need vegetarian portions, because of course I'm going to eat, right? And then she's going to often eat too. So you need a little bit bigger portion of the vegetarian. And this is a great one. We've had such a great weekend. My son and my future daughter-in-law had their wedding shower yesterday at a coffee shop. It was a really great location. People should consider that location more often to do a coffee shop like that. It was really fun. It was kind of coffee themed, and they had little samples of different flavored coffee flavorings that people could take as a party gift. And they were free, and it was just, we had food out, and then people could purchase coffee. So it was a small coffee shop. So they were able to like make money on all of us buying coffee, but then all the food was provided. We provided lemonade and water. So it was really super fun. It was really busy, but we made it. I survived. Okay, on to the recipe. This is hybrid spinach and 3 cheese vegetarian and meat big pasta bake. And I'm calling it big because it's more than one pan, so I get to call it big if I want to. Because it is big. It's bigger than what I would make if it was just like the 5 of us or the 4 of us or the 3 of us, whoever happened to be there. But if there's 6, I think you need 2 pans, especially if you have big eaters. So cooking for a larger group where people are vegetarians and meat eaters is so easy with this kind of recipe. And I don't know, it's just easy. It's kind of like a lasagna, but it's actually easier because you don't have to build layers. You're compiling everything and stirring it up, and then you put it in the pan. Okay, this is easy. Let's get into this. 16 ounces of penne or rigatoni pasta. These are the ingredients, by the way. 1 tablespoon olive oil, 1.5 tablespoons minced garlic, like the kind from a jar, 5 cups of fresh baby spinach or regular spinach, doesn't have to be baby. And you want that packed, so it's not like fluffy. You want to have a good amount of spinach there. And then 15-ounce container of ricotta cheese, 3/4 cup grated Parmesan cheese, 4 cups shredded mozzarella cheese, 2 tablespoons dried basil leaves, 2 eggs scrambled, 1.5 teaspoons salt, 3/4 teaspoon black pepper, 49 ounces marinara sauce. That's a little bit flexible if you are okay with that. And 36 ounces frozen Italian meatballs, also kind of flexible. Now, if you were trying to write that down, I'm sorry, that's just not going to work. You're going to go down to the podcast show notes, and there you will see the ingredients. You can't write that fast, right? Like I'm rattling this off. So go there and get them. Now, how are you going to make it? Okay, so you're going to Preheat your oven to 375. Get that all ready so that when you have your dishes built, you can just pop it right in that warmed oven. Cook the pasta according to the instructions on the package to al dente. Cook the frozen meatballs according to the package instructions. Again, very easy. Spread marinara sauce on the bottom of each pan. So one pan is going to be the 9 by 13 inch glass baking dish, and the other one is a smaller dish of like 8 by 11.5 inches, which is basically a 2-quart rectangular pan. Combine the ricotta cheese, Parmesan cheese, half the mozzarella cheese, dried basil leaves, and salt and pepper in a bowl, a separate bowl, and stir well. You're going to cook your garlic in olive oil for about a minute, stirring. Then you're going to take that spinach and you're going to add it to the hot pan. You're going to stir it around to wilt that spinach and remove from the heat. So that's a pretty quick thing. Spinach wilts pretty quickly. And then you're going to combine the spinach and garlic mixture with the cheese mixture and stir well. You're going to add the cooked drained pasta and stir that all together really well. And so then you're going to split it between the two pans. And obviously more is going to go in the larger pan. And if you want to do it a little bit higher on the meatless side, you can. On the meatless pan, you can. You don't have to. But I have often done it just a little bit higher because then the meatballs are going to raise the other side up. It's going to be more full, the meat pan. So then you add all your meatballs to the meat pan. If you want to have more meat portions, just take some of that vegetarian pan and designate it as meat also, like a half or a quarter. I generally make it with all the meat in the big pan. The meatballs go all in the big pan, and then the smaller pan leave vegetarian so that I also can have some leftovers. We love leftovers at our house. So divide that up however you want. And then you're going to cover both dishes with the remaining marinara sauce. This should be about half the sauce or maybe a little more. Sprinkle remaining mozzarella cheese across both pans evenly. Spray the tin foil with cooking spray and cover both pans. Cook for about a half hour, uncover, and cook for about 20 more minutes until hot and bubbling and cheeses are all melted. Cool, serve, and enjoy. That's it. This is so great because it's kind of like a lasagna, but you don't have to do this putziness of like laying out the long sheets and spreading the cheese across the noodles, which I always find it's not real easy to make it be even across that. It's hard to spread. This, you're just mixing it all together and stirring it, and then you're popping it in a pan. So it's so much easier. And then you get all that lovely spinach flavor, and it's just really good. It's really good. And, you can have Parmesan on the table to serve with it if you want, to top. It's just an easy recipe for a group, and I really like it. So I hope you like it. I hope you try it out. And check out all my other recipes on the podcast. I have so many different ones that you can try. You don't have to be a short order cook. That can get to be the pits, right? So again, down in the podcast show notes, I'll have it separated where it tells you how to make the double pan recipe for a bigger group. And then if you just want to make it as a one pan recipe, when I make it with a one pan, I usually do about maybe a third to 2/3 or a quarter to 3/4 meatless versus meat. I like to have a leftover too. So if I do too much meat and then someone doesn't eat the leftover meat, then I'm screwed. So I tend to try and make at least a quarter of the pan be meatless. Sometimes I'll do a third if I think I'm more likely to eat the leftovers than those who want the meat. So I can't forget about myself. The cook cannot forget about themselves, right? And it's just, you could pick the meatballs out. It's just kind of putsy and annoying. But it is a little bit more doable than other recipes where you'd have ground beef or ground chicken, ground turkey, even pieces, that could float around in what I call the meat drift. The dreaded meat drift. No, vegetarians don't want that, right? We don't want no dreaded meat drift. So meatballs are great because they're compact. They're already together. They're not mushed up. There's not pieces usually floating off and falling away. That's not really possible, I don't think, unless you chop them up somehow. So it's just really an ideal way to make a hybrid recipe where the meat is contained in its side. The meat stays on its side. That's what we want, right? That's what vegetarians want. You meats, you stay over on your side and we'll stay on our side. It's not really that hard to cook this way. So many people get so frustrated. And I grew up this way. My mom was always like, what am I going to make you? What am I going to make you? And often my thing was, even if I don't have enough, I'll grab a few nuts. I'll have some more milk because I always had dairy. It's really not that hard. I remember when I was young, when I was a teenager, I bought my mom a vegetarian cookbook because she was kind of often like, well, what do I make you? So it kind of was like a problem in my life growing up. And then I totally overcame it when I became the cook. And so this is why I like to share it for other people, because they may be in the same boat where they have a vegetarian in their life, in their home, who they frequently cook for. And they're like, what do I make? How do I do this? How can I make this not be so much work for me where it's like I'm a short order cook and I'm making 2 separate recipes? You just got to find a way to make it work for both. And if that means a separate pan, taking out a portion, or if person who is a vegetarian can tolerate it being in the same pan but not touching their portion, there are recipes where that works very well. Sometimes things are a little bit liquidy and the meat might drift over, but not in this recipe. The meatballs are very contained. So I am very, very happy that we had a great shower yesterday, but it's nice to have it over. It's so much work. Like, we were chopping up so many things, and my son and his friends who had spent the night before the shower were actually helping me cut things. So I had 3 young men helping me chop things. It was fantastic. So they were chopping the cucumbers, washing cucumbers. We were chopping peppers. One of them was cutting up the grapevines into little chunks. And they were just so helpful. It was so lovely. And then it was a wonderful, amazing shower. We really had a great time. A lot of nice people stopped by to give them their well wishes and have some food. But we had too much food. We totally had too much food. And we also had donuts. So it was a great time and it was really lovely. And we were very happy to have that. And we had nice weather. So the kids were outside. We had brought our bags. The thing was like a cornhole, those things where you like throw the bags at the board and there's like a little hole at the top. So they were occupied doing that quite a bit because they get bored. They don't want to sit around and talk in a coffee shop, right? They're not really into the conversation yet other than what they want to talk about, but they do better when they're playing something when they talk. So otherwise they get kind of bored pretty quickly. So it was just a great day. And it was really fun to have it be such a collaboration. His friends were so helpful and her friends were so helpful and all the family was helpful. So it was really a great experience. We have the wedding coming this summer. So it is very busy. We went from him graduating a few weeks ago from college to launching into wedding activities. So it's a busy time, baby. It is, but I'm so glad I got this recipe out. And thank you for listening. Down in the podcast show notes, you can also see the link to my cookbooks and my YA contemporary romance fiction, because I'm also a fiction author. So thank you so much for listening. Please like my podcast. Share your thoughts in a review. Give me a rating. I would love to see your thoughts, hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for listening, and you have an amazing day. Enjoy your food. Food was meant to be enjoyed, right? It's so much fun to try different things with food and be creative. And it's just so satisfying to eat. We all need to eat. We all just make it fun, right? And less work. So you're not such a short order cook, which is what I often try to avoid because it just magnifies your time, your efforts when you'd rather be doing something else. So find a way to make it easier for yourself. A lot of my recipes can do that for you. So I hope you enjoy. Have an amazing day. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye now.